All right, if I could have everybody's attention, we're going to go ahead and get today's meeting started. If you wanted to find a seat, there's plenty. All right, so it's January 8th, 2024 at 9 a.m. I'm going to call today's Flagler County Board of County Commissioners meeting to order. If everybody please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. And at this time, we'll take a moment of silence as we honor our first responders, police, fire, and medical personnel. Without the tireless time and dedication of these important individuals, our world would not be the same. We also take a moment to honor the men and women serving in our armed forces and are forever grateful for their service that allows us to enjoy the freedoms we have in America. Thank you. We have a couple of modifications to the agenda. There was item 7U, approval of bid award for ITB 23034B in contract with P&S Paving for the roadway construction of the Flagler Central Commerce Parkway connector. It was updated to include attachment 3. That modification was published on the website on January 2nd. And a deletion, item 8A, conveyance of land to Hammock Dunes CDD for intersection improvements was pulled at the request of the Hammock Dunes CDD. And that modification was also published on the website on January 4th. A few other announcements. County offices will be closed on Monday, January 15th for Martin Luther King Day. There are a few board vacancies. Flagler County solicits registered voters residing in Flagler County for various citizen volunteer boards and councils. We have vacancies on the River to Sea TPO Citizens Advisory Committee as a citizen alternate, the River to Sea TPO Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee as a citizen alternate. We have 2 vacancies on the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee and 1 vacancy on the Planning and Development Board. Please visit our advisory board vacancies page at flaglercounty.gov to view further information regarding these openings or to apply. Positions are open until filled. We also have some upcoming workshops and future meetings. We have a workshop today on January 8th at 1 p.m. And the next regular meeting is the first meeting in February 5th at 9 a.m. And today we have a few proclamations to get the meeting started with. And the first will be a Stalking Awareness Month proclamation for January 2024. Ms. Commissioner Pennington will read that one for us.
This is a proclamation of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners recognizing the month of January 2024 as National Stalking Awareness Month. Whereas under the laws of all 50 states, the U.S. territories, and the District of Columbia and federal government, stalking is a crime. And whereas up to 7.5 million people are stalked in a 1-year period in the United States, and the majority of victims are stalked by someone they know. And whereas 3 in 4 women killed by an intimate partner have been stalked by that intimate partner, and whereas many stalking victims lose time from work and experience serious psychological distress and lost productivity at a much higher rate than the general population. And whereas many stalking victims are forced to protect themselves by relocating, changing their identities, jobs, and obtaining protection orders. And whereas many stalkers use technologies such as cell phones, global positioning systems, cameras, and spyware to monitor and track their victims. And whereas there is a need for great public awareness about the nature, criminality, and potential lethality of the stalking. And whereas criminal justice systems can enhance their responses to stalking by regular training and assertive investigation and prosecution of the crime. And whereas laws and public policies must be continually adapted to keep pace with new tactics used by stalkers. And whereas communities can better combat stalking by adopting multidisciplinary responses by teams of local agencies and organizations, and by providing more and better victim services. And whereas the Family Life Center is joining forces with victim service providers, criminal justice officials, and concerned citizens throughout Bunnell and the United States to observe National Stalking Awareness Month. And whereas Flagler County Advocate Alliance is working to increase public understanding of this problem and mobilize community efforts to end stalking. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners that we hereby declare January 2024 as National Stalking Awareness Month in Flagler County, and we applaud the efforts of the many victim service providers, police officers, prosecutors, national and community organizations, and private sector supporters for their efforts in promoting awareness about stalking. This has been adopted January 8th and attested by Tom Bexley, our clerk of court, and our chair, Mr. Dance.
Thank you, Elaine. Thank you. This was requested by Candy Wilkes. Did you want to say anything, Candy, or? You and your team.
My village. Good morning. I'm Candace Wilkie, the Domestic Violence Services Coordinator at the Family Life Center. Thank you so much for taking time out of your agenda this morning to recognize January's National Stalking Awareness Month. With me, I have, actually, I'll let them introduce themselves.
Laura Kashera, I'm an advocate with the Flagler Beach Police Department.
Good morning. My name is Marta, and I'm the domestic violence advocate with Family Life Center.
Donna Carney, Victim Advocate Coordinator with Flagler Beach Police Department.
Erin Shannon, Sexual Assault Services Coordinator for Family Life Center.
And Brianna Miller, Victim Advocate over at the Flagler County Sheriff's Office.
Thank you.
So as you all know from many proclamations that you have read for us over the years, we don't do this work alone. Stalking is one of the victim services that we provide to survivors of crime that is difficult to recognize. When we do our assessments and we ask someone, you know, have you been stalked? Probably 85% of the time they'll say no. But if we ask questions such as, do they call you when you're not there? Do they show up at your place of work? Do they, you know, try to prevent you from spending time with your friends? The answers are yes. And all of those are signs of stalking. So sometimes we need to ask different questions to determine the types of victimization that someone has been exposed to. So raising awareness for that is huge, and we appreciate you taking the time to do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Gentlemen, I'd like to make a motion to approve this proclamation recognizing the month of January 2024 as National Stalking Awareness Month.
Second.
All right, great. I have a motion by Commissioner Pennington and a second by Commissioner Sullivan. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
And passes unanimously. Thank you. You're also up for the next one, so did you want to hang tight? And that is going to be read by Commissioner Sullivan. And that's Human Trafficking Awareness Month, January 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Proclamation of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners recognizing the month of January 2024 as Human Trafficking Awareness Month. Whereas human trafficking is the recruitment, harboring, transportation, provision, or obtaining of a person for labor or services through the use of force, fraud, or coercion for the purpose of forced labor or sexual servitude, and whereas human trafficking is a $32 billion a year global criminal enterprise, it is a crime as well as a civil and human rights violation, and an estimated 25 million people are currently victims of human trafficking for both sex and labor. And whereas human traffickers prey on their victims by promising a life of hope and greater opportunity while delivering only enslavement. Instead of delivering people to better lives, traffickers unjustifiably profit from the labor and toil of their victims, who they force through violence and intimidation to work in brothels and factories or farms and fishing vessels in private homes and in countless industries. And whereas January is National Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Month, we commit ourselves to eradicating the evil of enslavement. Human trafficking is a modern form of the oldest and most barbaric type of exploitation, and we proclaim it has no place in the world or nation or city. And whereas this month we do not simply reflect on this appalling reality, we also pledge to do all in our power to end to end the horrific practice of human trafficking that plagues innocent victims, not only around the world, but in our own neighborhoods. And whereas more awareness and education is crucial to eradicating human trafficking in our communities, states, and nation. Whereas Flagler County Advocates Alliance is working together to increase public understanding of this problem and mobilize community efforts to end human trafficking. And whereas Human Trafficking Awareness Day is observed on January 11th in municipalities across the country to educate the public and raise awareness about human trafficking. Now, therefore, let it be proclaimed by the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners that they hereby declare January 2024 as Human Trafficking Awareness Month in Flagler County and urge all citizens of Flagler County to become a part of the community response to end human trafficking and to send the message that this crime will not be tolerated in our community. Adopted this 8th day of January 2024, attested Tom Bexley, Clerk of Court, and signed by our Chairman, Andrew Dance. Thank you.
There you go. Thank you. We'll have a picture in a minute with the proclamations,
Okay.
but did you have some more?
Well, I just wanted to take note with human trafficking. We are part of the Circuit 7, Freedom 7 Alliance, which spearheads trafficking in our circuit, our judicial circuit, which consists of St. John's, Flagler, Volusia, and Putnam counties. And it was one of the pilot programs a few years ago that started that program, that task force, and they really kind of spearheaded that process throughout the state. So it has eliminated potential areas where trafficking would be prominent in Daytona Beach. So I just wanted to recognize that Freedom 7 Task Force for Human Trafficking is something that you all want to follow if you don't already, because they definitely help raise awareness for human trafficking in our circuit. Does anybody else want to say anything? No? Okay, so thank you again for taking time out of your agenda to recognize these two very prominent crimes in our county.
Thank you very much. Did any other?
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the proclamation for Human Trafficking Awareness Month, January 2024.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Sullivan and a second by Commissioner Pennington. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously. Did anybody have any comments from the dais?
I did, Mr. Chair. Over the holidays, I got a chance to meet with a woman that works for another law enforcement agency within our circuit, and she specializes in working on human trafficking and family violence, that all those kind of crimes. And I was shocked at when we were at a dinner, and I was just shocked at the amount of busyness and pervasiveness of human trafficking and those kind of crimes in our Volusia Flagler area. It was stunning to me how busy they are in these investigations and how dangerous it all is. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. Come on up to the dais. We'll get a picture taken.
We'll just stay in front.
I'll squeeze in. Nice phone, Carlos.
Thank you all.
Thank you. And our third proclamation today is Firefighter Cancer Awareness Proclamation for January 2024. And I'll go ahead and read this one today. This is a proclamation of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners recognizing the month of January 2024 as Firefighter Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas cancer is the most dangerous, under-recognized threat to the health and safety of our firefighters, and occupational cancer is the leading cause of line-of-duty deaths in the fire service, with a direct correlation of chemical exposures on the job. And whereas firefighters have a 9% greater chance of being diagnosed with cancer and 14% greater chance of dying from cancer than the general U.S. population. And whereas scientific evidence showing a direct correlation between firefighting and certain cancers steered the 2019 Florida legislature to enact legislation mandating employer-funded cancer benefits for firefighters. And whereas there are over 200 known chemicals and contaminants found in smoke that our firefighters interact with as a routine part of their occupations, which soil their personal protective equipment and everything it comes in contact with, increasing their risk of developing cancer. And whereas critical and immediate need for additional protective equipment to help firefighters avoid inhalation and skin exposures to known and suspected occupational carcinogens led the Florida legislature in 2020 to develop the Firefighter Cancer Decontamination Equipment Grant Program to provide financial assistance to help fire departments procure equipment, supplies, and educational training. And whereas 67% of firefighters recognized on the International Association of Firefighters Memorial Wall have died of cancer between 2002 to 2020. And whereas the noble profession of firefighting already comes with a myriad of dangerous and life-threatening risks, additional awareness and support for the increased exposure to cancer-causing carcinogens is paramount to the safety of those that choose this profession. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners that they hereby declare January 2024 as Firefighter Cancer Awareness Month to help provide firefighters the necessary tools and guidance to develop life-saving protocols for cancer prevention and to support those with a cancer diagnosis, bringing increased public awareness to the danger firefighters face day to day being exposed to cancer-causing carcinogens, adopted this 8th day of January 2024, signed by our Clerk of Circuit Court, Tom Bexley, and the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners. Chief Tucker, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Chairman Dance and members of the commission. Thank you for the proclamation and recognizing January as Cancer Awareness Month for firefighters. As many people do recognize, the fire service is a dangerous occupation, and the men and women who enter it do so willingly. They do so day in and day out. They report to work, ready to respond to the needs of the citizens and the community that they serve. But as you indicated, the challenges that we face when it comes to cancer, is unknown. The burning buildings, the medical calls those are the things that are obvious. But what's going on inside of those environments and what causes the challenges, for us when it comes to cancer. As you indicated, there are 200 known contaminants in smoke. But in addition to that, for years and years, we've used things called AFFF, aqueous film-forming foam. It's what we've used as a key tool in fighting fires, and that has now been identified as a major cause of cancer as it contains some of the forever chemicals. And obviously that's an ongoing situation, but it is a tool that we used for years thinking that it was safe, and we found out differently. So this is an ongoing battle, and it's not something that's going to go away, anytime soon. But we think that the recognition of this month by this commission is one of the important steps. We're doing everything we can from policies and procedures to make sure that we're staying as safe as possible. We're doing gross decon as soon as scenes are over. We're washing down ourselves on scene and washing down our gear as much as we can on scene. We're doing gear exchanges back at the station to make sure that firefighters are getting the stuff that's just been exposed to the carcinogens off of them and get cleaner gear on them. And we're requiring firefighters to shower within the hour of getting back to the scene, the station, so that they can clean themselves, as quickly as possible. And I was one of the individuals at the State Fire Marshal's Office who was responsible for enabling the legislation in 2019 by the Florida legislature. And on an ongoing basis, nearly 100 firefighters die in the line of duty every year, and those are things that are due to responding to training. Those are the physical things, but the number that we truly know about cancer in the fire service is an unknown. So we now recognize that cancer as a line of duty death, and these individuals who are diagnosed and succumb to cancer are added to the Florida Firefighter Memorial Wall, every year, and those numbers are increasing. So we think it's important, to recognize January as Cancer Awareness Month for firefighters. But I would be remiss if I didn't thank you, the commission, for the things that you've done to help us, become safer. You've enabled us to purchase gear, that on a replacement cycle, gear is supposed to be replaced every 10 years. Every firefighter in Flagler County now has current gear, and that is important, and we thank you for that. We also want to thank you for the inventory that we have for the second sets of gear and the replacement gear that we can get these guys and gals out of that gear when they return, to the station. We want to thank you for the purchase of washers and extractors, at some of our stations that allow us to clean that gear as soon as possible. So we're doing our part to make sure that our firefighters are safe. We want to thank you for the things that you've done to make us safe, as well. And so, Commissioner, we say thank you again. And this is a very important step for us.
Thank you very much. Would someone like to make the motion on this one?
A motion to approve the Firefighter Cancer Awareness Month, January 2024.
Second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Sullivan, second by Commissioner Pennington. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Well, thank you. I see you have some of our dedicated firefighters back behind you, so will they come up for a picture?
If I tell them to.
All right, good deal. Here's your.
Just stay around. Next.
All right, squeeze in tight.
There we go.
Thank you very much.
Good.
And stick around, there's one more coming up. Did anybody have any comments from the dais?
No, they do a great job, and it is one of the real problems of having to face all those chemicals that they face during fires, especially with the modern world with the chemicals that we put in our plastics and all that nowadays.
All right, well, great, thank you. I appreciate everybody being here for the proclamation and for the next item as well. And we'll go ahead and move to that one, and that is a presentation by the Flagler County Fire Rescue for their life-saving awards, and that will be presented by Chief Tucker as well.
Good morning again, Chairman Dance and members of the commission. Again, Michael Tucker, Fire Chief, Flagler County Fire Rescue. From time to time, we have the ability to recognize, our staff members for doing the things that they do, day in and day out, and they do some great stuff, but every once in a while, those opportunities when they've stepped into, a situation where somebody is truly in trouble, truly in need of their services and to survive. And in this situation, one of our individuals made that step, and actually, this is Andy Thomas, while responding to a call at one of our local assisted living facilities with his teammates on Rescue 92, they were in the middle of delivering patient care to that individual when they got word from a staff member that another resident of that facility was choking. Paramedic firefighter Andy Dance separated himself from the crew, left his partners caring for that patient, and went to the side of this individual who was choking. Upon arrival, he did find her apneic, which is not breathing, and it immediately administered the abdominal thrust, and was able to dislodge, the item that was causing the choking. The individual was cared for by another one of our rescues that also responded to the scene and transported. But because of Andy's quick action, when you're focused on one patient and immediately you have to switch, to a mindset of caring for another patient, that is a big step, a big thing, So it's just without hesitation that I want to give Andy one of our life-saving awards and recognize him in front of you all for serving the citizens of Flagler County and doing so as good as you do.
Thank you, Chief. I appreciate it.
Now, I would also like to say that Andy is one of those individuals that the first day that I walked in here, he is somebody who sets the standard for how you should come to work as an employee. He has a smile on his face for everybody. I don't think I've ever heard Andy say a negative word about anybody. He loves his job. And matter of fact, we've tried to encourage Andy to go through some of the promotional processes to be a company officer and take on additional roles. He has politely declined that each time because he loves what he does. And Andy is honestly one of the informal leaders in our organization. People look to him, and that's something to be said for that, because that is a title that you earn. You don't get given that title, and he has definitely earned it. One of the other organizations that we respond with, Palm Coast Fire Department and Flagler County, Flagler Beach Fire Rescue have their own employees that step above and beyond. And one of the days I was talking to somebody at Palm Coast about an individual, who is known in their organization, as being somebody who goes above and beyond and is as a standard employee. And they joked about that employee and they said, he is our version of y'all's Andy Thomas. So even outside of our organization, he's recognized as being a high performer. And Andy, again, I want to thank you for serving us and serving the community as well as you do.
Thank you, Chief. Happy to do my job.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Again, thank you. Right. Okay, good. Well, again, thank you, Chief Tucker. It's always good to honor employees and especially as a life-saving award. And it's an honor to have the rest of the firefighters, fire rescue personnel with us today. And just want to make sure we thank you as well for the work that you do. And with the risks, as we mentioned, that are involved with it. But you perform your job fearlessly every day. So thank you very much. We'll move on to our second presentation today, and that's a mosquito control update. And we have our Commissioner, Mike Martin, to present.
Thank you, and thank you for giving me the time to be here. I'm here to speak to you because there is a bill before the House of Representatives in the Florida legislature called HB 7013, and it's a bill to try and remove unnecessary special districts. I want to start off by saying I absolutely support this bill. I'm a fiscal conservative. I don't believe in taking taxpayers' money if it's not necessary. I'm pretty sure that there are a whole lot of special taxing districts that have outlived their usefulness and don't need to be involved anymore and should be dissolved. Unfortunately, mosquito control districts are getting caught up with this bill. Mosquito control in Florida is absolutely necessary for any of us to live here. You cannot do without mosquito control. And it's not even a question of just being a nuisance mosquitoes or being irritating. Mosquitoes carry life-threatening diseases. And the reason mosquito control districts are here is to protect the populations from those mosquito-borne diseases. Mosquitoes carry things like dengue fever, West Nile virus, Zika virus, chikungunya or breakbone disease, malaria, yellow fever, human and canine heartworm, and eastern equine encephalitis. All of these things are debilitating diseases, and the reasons that we don't have more of them in Florida is because we have mosquito districts that are out there doing a proper job. The problem I have with HB 7013 is that one of the parts, Section 5, calls for all independent special taxing districts to be going before the voters every 10 years to be reauthorized. The problem with that is that if the voters were to say not reauthorize a district, if we have to face in 2026, if this bill passes, we would face a referendum on the ballot. If we were to lose that referendum, we would then have to dissolve the East Flag Mosquito Control District. Well, somebody then will have to step in and pick up the slack. It would have to be either the city or it would have to be you, the county. And the problem with that, it's putting an unnecessary burden on you because you will be setting your budget in 2026, like all other governments, at the end of September. Yet this election takes place in November. Are you going to have to put in your budget money in 2026, 27 fiscal year to take over mosquito control? Or would you have to find the money if we were to get voted down? It's just not a good idea to put something that's necessary for protecting the health of people in Flagler County and any Florida county to leave it up in the air. Since 1952, you, the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners, established us. And since then, for 72 years, we are protecting the health of people in Flagler County. The purpose of the bill, I said, HB 7013 is laudable, and I support it. I would love to see unnecessary special districts get voted out of existence. The problem I have is when they include mosquito districts in there, you have to consider the alternative if we were voted down. So I have some statistics for you. If there are mosquito-borne independent special districts, there are also the mosquito districts that are operated by the county or in one case by the city. And I want to tell you, I've gone on the Florida Department of Health website. I've taken statistics from there on their mosquito-borne diseases using their press releases. For 4 years, from 2019, 2020, 2022, and 2023, 73% of all mosquito-borne diseases in the state of Florida have occurred in counties where the mosquito control is operated either by the county or, in one case, by the city. 73%, more than 7 out of 10 cases of mosquito-borne diseases in the state occur in areas where it's run by the county. And it only stands to reason. A county department has no control over how much money they get for a budget. As an independent special mosquito district, we can set our millage rate, whatever appropriate, to what we think we were going to need for the upcoming year to protect the health of the citizens. It doesn't happen. In October, we signed a contract with a bank to get a loan for buying a new helicopter. If we were a county department, this would not have happened because you need to buy to replace Fireflight. And Fireflight is much more important because it serves more purposes than a mosquito control helicopter. So if we were a division of the county, we would still be operating with our 19-year-old helicopter, which is no longer capable because it doesn't have the payload or the range to service the extra 13% that we just added this year because last year you voted to let us expand the district. So we have a great working relationship together, mosquito district and the county, but it's threatened if we face dissolution every 10 years. Another problem we have is that the bank would undoubtedly not have given us a loan in October 2023 if they thought in 3 years we weren't going to be around. It's a 7-year loan. If we get dissolved, how are we supposed to pay that off? It's something I think that the legislature, the committee that passed this bill, really didn't look into the consequences of this bill. So I am asking you to support us. I'm asking the people here, I'm asking everybody who listens to this to contact Speaker Renner and ask him to change Section 5, 1A and B, to allow the creating body, in this case it would be you, the county commission, who created us, to decide whether or not to put a referendum on the ballot every 10 years. I do not believe this should be left up to the voters. I think this is basically a home rule issue, that you should not face an unwarranted and unnecessary financial burden of trying to take over mosquito control if you believe that what we're doing is a good job. I don't believe this should be left up to the voters. I think this should be left up to the creating body. So I'm asking everybody to contact Speaker Renner and urge him to change the language in the bill to allow the creating body of any independent special district to be the one who decides whether or not a dissolution resolution should be placed on the ballot in 2026, because this will affect your finances as well as every other independent special district county's finances. So I'm confident that we are doing a good job. I know they have a really great relationship with each other, but this is a threat that really shouldn't be in existence, at least not when applied to special mosquito districts, because we are necessary. And if this were something were to happen and we were not able to maintain the district because the voters said, no, we don't want it, the burden would fall on you or the city. And I know that the city doesn't want it. So to me, it's necessary to try to change this legislation to prevent this problem from happening. We also would have a problem as we approach the end of each 10-year period, we'd have a problem hiring or retaining employees. Who's going to want to come to work for a company where you might not have a job in a year or two because the company itself may go out of business, go out of existence? I just think this bill was not thought through. I don't think all of the consequences of forcing a dissolution vote every 10 years was thought of. And I think that it's too much of a danger to leave this in the hands of the public. So again, I would urge the county to support us. I would urge everybody listening, everybody here to support us, because if you want to continue to stay safe from mosquito-borne diseases, then you need to allow us to continue to do the job. And by the way, nobody at the mosquito district can remember the last time we had a case of mosquito-borne disease in Flagler County. And to me, this is proof that we are doing a good job. And all we're asking is to be left alone to continue to do a good job.
All right.
So thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you, and I hope that you will seriously consider getting behind this and trying to solve this.
Thank you. Did
Thank
anybody
you.
have any questions for Commissioner Martin?
Who was the sponsor on this? I was just looking it up. I couldn't see yet who the sponsor.
I can't remember the representative's name of the sponsor, but it came out of the subcommittee that is involved with independent special taxing districts. And like I say, I support the bill. I think the goal of the bill is laudable. It's just that one of the solutions they've chosen is going to create a whole can of worms if it gets passed in its current configuration.
Well,
Oh,
I mean, it's good, it's kind of timely. Just last year, we did do a lot of coordination with the mosquito district and have come up with a kind of the future plan for how we're going to handle expansion and so on and so forth. So I don't think we said anything in our legislative policy for this year. So we might want to think about that, adding something. We're going to be up there next week talking to the legislature. So Mr. Chairman, back to you. Do we need to do some kind of?
well, at this point, we can.
I know, but should we have something prepared? It's kind of the policy that the board would want to follow up on this HB 73 and with modification.
Well, I think we'll definitely have opportunities to chat when we're there. We can bring it up and make a point to find out more information.
But is
when
it
we're
a
up there.
general consensus of our board to do that?
Well, let's have a question first by Commissioner Pennington.
Yeah,
and-
first, Mr. Martin, if you could provide us with the sponsor information, maybe email us who's sponsoring the bill when you get back.
Do
That'd
that
be
as soon as
great.
I get home.
And then two, yeah, I mean, we could come to a consensus to provide, a one-pager on your behalf when we're up there. Because there's a lot of good points in that discussion, particularly because mosquitoes cause deadly occurrences. And so it's not something like other districts.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
I don't know if you remember, but last year in Sarasota County, there were 7 cases of malaria. And malaria was thought to be eradicated in this country. And you might call it a coincidence, but Sarasota, the mosquito control is done by the county. They only go out and they collect their mosquito traps once a week. We trap every single workday morning because we want the data. We act on that data. Whatever data we get in the morning, that's how we use to form our missions that evening. So we stay on top of things. And the money just isn't there in a lot of these county-run mosquito programs, which is, it's rational because there are so many departments that need money. So when you have the ability as a mosquito district to set your own budget, you can make sure that you're properly prepared for everything, including whether for instance, last year we got hit two hurricanes in the same year in a short period of time. Ian and Nicole, that required a lot. It was, historic inland flooding. We didn't get much of beach erosion out of Ian, but we certainly got historic inland flooding. And we had to spend a lot more money on chemicals and on helicopter time to go out there and spray. If that had been a case of the county running it, if it already happened after the county budget had been set, where was the extra money going to come from? You'd have to end up trying to move money, take it from somebody else. So it's not the best way, in my opinion, to do mosquito control. Mosquito control, they said, until somebody figures out a way to control mosquitoes without using pesticides, we are necessary. And we protect the public health.
Well, the only concern I have is just that we give the lobbyists some opportunity to give us some feedback on some of the maybe the things we haven't considered with the bill, or to at least give us some. I mean, I'm okay with consensus on if everybody wants to have that as a discussion
No,
point.
I think we need to, flesh it out
Right.
a little bit.
So I would say we give the lobbyists some opportunity to give us some more background information and address it. We can always address it in Tallahassee if everybody agrees, because I think it needs some attention.
If I'm reading this correctly, the Senate filer was Senator Hudson.
Okay, so we need some opportunity to have that chat with Senator Hudson, I would say.
And we will be seeing him.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, thank you. And if you need any more information, you know how to reach me. I'd be very happy to.
I think it'd be helpful to have a one-pager or something with those talking points
Absolutely.
from you
I'll-
that are
I'll-
directly
I
from
will send you
your
something.
board.
And it's modification to the bill is what we're looking
Exactly.
Yeah.
The only problem that we have with the bill of mosquito is the section 5, this 1A and 1B, which mandates a referendum be placed on the ballot starting in 2026 and then every 10 years thereafter. So it's not even up to you. If the bill passes in its current form, we will be facing dissolution vote in 2026.
And I think that's the benefit too of Senator Hudson has the ability to modify that side. And so we'll have that discussion with him. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate the update. All right, our third presentation will be from our own land management department. And we'll have that presentation by Michael Lagasse, our Public Lands and Natural Resources Manager. Which is timely because I know we all got emails about feral hogs, so if you'll touch on that for us as well.
Hello, Mike Lagasse, as you mentioned, Public Lands and Natural Resources Manager. I have with me the staff of our small but mighty land management department. We have Ralph Risch, our Forestry Supervisor.
Morning.
Michael Orlando, Prescribed Fire Program Manager, et cetera. And Ronnie Mitchell, Land Management Specialist.
Morning.
I'll start quick on the feral hog thing. We've upped our game over the last year. We'll touch on that in the presentation. I'll let you ask any questions at the end if that works.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, I'm going to try not to do this incorrectly. Let's see. There we go. Oh, look at that. Okay, so I just want to give you guys a quick, tiny little bit of history, a little bit of recent past history, and a little bit of what's coming in the future. I know we have 3 to 5 minutes, and I'm naturally kind of a fast talker. Slow me down if you need me, but I'm just going to kind of go through and see how we get through this here real quick. This quote here from Aldo Leopold in a Sand County Almanac kind of describes my understanding of a lot of Flagler County citizens as I've come to know many of them, which is the blank places on the maps are very important. And our ESL program that we have in the county is a way to kind of look at those blank spaces that we have on the map and consider their value to our citizens. The ESL program, the Environmentally Sensitive Lands Program, as you know, was created actually 36 years ago. This slide was an older slide that I grabbed. I should have updated that. And I don't want to go too far into that. We've talked about it a lot. I'd love to talk about it more anytime, but that program is why you have these staff. These staff are charged with the natural resource stewardship and management of the many properties that we've acquired over these 36 years. The department includes myself, Mike Lagasse, the 3 gentlemen I mentioned to you here before. And one thing that is really interesting is that these guys particularly are all, I call them Swiss Army knives. They have a lot of tasks, they have a lot of skills, a lot of abilities, and we try to use them all to come to bear for the stewardship of our county lands. Ronnie, for instance, if we talk about feral hog management, since Ronnie's come to us a year ago, almost a year ago this month, I guess, we've gone from, on our public lands, we manage feral hogs with volunteered licensed individuals and groups. And we've averaged around 100 a year, 60 to 100 a year per property. Well, in this year alone, we've exceeded 300 with mostly just in Graham Swamp alone. Like, we've really focused efforts. We've been working on collaborating with some of our private partners. Ronnie also works on invasive plant management. He's on our prescribed fire team. Occasionally, he has a past as a wildlife rescue professional. You'll see a picture here where he rescued a bald eagle that was caught in a fence at Hall Creek. There was a press release about a year ago. Yeah, they're bigger than they look from the air, aren't they? He's been taking care of hazardous trees on our county lands, and he's also our river to sea caretaker. I won't go through the list on the right of the highlights. Feel free to check those out, but he's a very busy guy this past year. And one thing that I'll say that's really interesting, he's working with our drone program to start getting some hog management strategies going that we can really use the technology that we have available to really kind of keep upping that game. Ralph Risch, our forestry supervisor, came to us also about a year ago, 15 months ago. Ralph came because we have quite a bit of silviculture, timberlands that we've acquired over the years. And to manage them properly, we need to have assessments of what type of timber is it ready to harvest, all these sorts of things to go out to the private sector and hire the work that we need to do to manage the timber. We often manage the timber for ecological reasons. Some cases, it creates enough revenue that helps to offset budgets and manage our parks in that way. He's on a prescribed fire team. He's been developing a role as a volunteer coordinator. He works with volunteers in the community to do invasive plant cleanups, and also he's been doing a walk in the park in the woods series, which is an interpretive hike that he takes people out and says, hey, here's something you might not have thought about with these lands that are yours. He's got a unique talent that he's able to look at a plant and say, not only what type of plant it is, but I don't know how, he somehow knows that it has never been documented in our county. He's got a mind that I don't quite understand, Ralph. I don't and so in this past year, he's documented 5 herp species, turtles and frogs, 27 plants, and there's 10 more pending just from his observations while walking in the field. It's been pretty neat. The really big one is the striped newt discovery that I really talk about a lot. I'm really proud of that we as a group, Ronnie, as a partner with a different organization, found a gopher frog on one of our sites. That brought up to our minds, hey, what else is going on? Ralph came on board. He went to look for gopher frogs, found striped newts. Now we have, with the Water Management District, the 3rd largest, what is it? Tell me the statistic.
Third largest population of striped newts based upon number of breeding ponds of any public land in the world. The first place is Ocala National Forest. Second is Jennings State Forest. Ocala National Forest has 360 or 380,000 acres. We have, between us at Princess Place and the adjacent Pellicier Creek, 2,000 acres. And Jennings State Forest, I think, is like 15,000 acres or something like that. So it's a really, really interesting find to find this many on such a small area.
Yep. Thank you. So we're really nerded out about that, you could say. Michael Orlando, you've met Michael Orlando in this spot before and probably out in the world. He's our prescribed fire kind of go-to guy at the county. You can see him there in the old firefight. We're all looking forward to the new. He's an aerial fire professional. He's working on grants within our department from everybody from the feds, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, HMGP, the Fish and Wildlife Commission of Florida, and doing a lot of the derelict vessel work. You can see the list there. He's all 3 of these guys are really invaluable to the work that we do to provide stewardship for these lands. Some other departmental projects, as you are aware, the conservation land funding appropriation, we've been working on that. We have, right now we're in negotiation with the Melvin Tract. That's a 900-something acre property south of 304. I'll be glad to update you on that. It's pretty involved, so feel free to reach out and we can talk more. I can come once we get a little further along and do another presentation. We completed the Parks Master Plan this year, coordinating with the City of Palm Coast. We permitted a gopher tortoise recipient site at Princess Place as a ecological reason, but also it's creating revenue that we're going to be able to use to help manage the park and other parks in some cases. We have a resilience grants in process. The 3, we've completed 1, we've got 2 in process. We're working on a Bings Landing and Betty Steflik management plan update. We also completed the Bings Landing Find Grant, which Commissioner Sullivan kind of brought to us as an idea about 4 or 5 years ago to do some updates along Bings Landing, and those were finally completed. Resilience implementation grants, we unfortunately were not awarded. That's not complete yet, but we did apply for those. We're planning on doing 500 acres of prescribed burning. It is prescribed fire season, so get ready for some of those notifications. We're going to let you know when we're doing things. Keep seeking funding leveraging. That's something that our department has always done before I was here and continuing now. We're always looking for ways to leverage the funds that we get from you guys with other funds from others, whether it be partnership and labor hours or actual funding like the Gopher Tortoise recipient sites, the timber resources, et cetera. We're looking to increase our public outreach to try to help tell our story. We're going to do that with the Walk in the Woods series, continuing volunteer outreach. We're still reaching out to folks for environmentally sensitive lands listings and hope to acquire further conservation lands in the future. This quote is from Henry David Thoreau from his essay Walking, published in 1862. I think it still is valid for consideration. I'll open for any questions that you'd like.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Sullivan.
Right. Thank you, Mike. And we have been working, I have been working with you with the situation in Grand Haven about the feral hog, where it's especially prevalent. And you've done a great job. I bought those new pig brig
Big rigs is what we've
traps
been
and
using.
got the people certified so they can go in there and do it. And then 300 hogs. The problem right now is that we've all seen a message, I think, from Nancy Crouch, who represents the CDD in Grand Haven, and they feel that we have to do more. It's been explained, I think, in messages about the fact that what we're doing is what we're doing, and there's no separate line items in the budget to do any more, but they're looking for additional help with their feral hog problem and kind of propose maybe some kind of an item on one of our workshops to discuss this further. I think that's over to Heidi and whether or not we want to do that. I think you've done a great job in explaining what we can do, what you have done, and just giving us the update this morning. But I think there is a need, since it is a CDD, and they have had some dangerous situations with the larger hogs out there and the people who live there. So that's the one item I would say maybe additional follow-up would be a workshop item to discuss it with the community about that.
To be clear, follow-up from us to you at a workshop is what you're discussing. Okay.
Right. So it's really over to
I think it's appropriate. And
Yeah.
Everybody else okay with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Workshop, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just that,
Yes.
can I add something? I just want to thank Mike. He was kind enough to give me his time on Friday and got a chance to go in at the south end of 40 grade, ride the whole property, both sides, look at everything. And it really helped me to put things in perspective, as we
good.
have possible, the situation with the city of Ormond Beach, and then just also to see, the water movement. He was very helpful with maps and showing me water flow and looking at the issue we had with the culvert up there, or Volusia County has with the culvert up there, and just to get a good lay of the land by being out on top of it. So appreciate your giving me that time, Mike.
No problem.
No,
Diane?
I just want to say this is my favorite department. So, you do such a great job, and I hope that this year we get the ability through communications to really show the public how much work we do in this county to conserve a land, because everyone's in a panic about the amount of mass development, but we're way ahead of it when doing God's work here, preserving land. So I'm very proud of everybody. Thank you.
Thanks.
Only comment I'll add is that for the commissioners is that if you get the opportunity through Florida Association of Counties to do the tour at Tall Timbers, I would highly suggest it. I did that last year. It's a beautiful site, but we went through the entire prescribed burn process, education and practice. So I got to light a couple of fires myself. And it's a highly educational process to learn about the ecology and the importance of prescribed fire. And so if that comes up, any of those opportunities for education and if we could even bring that back locally, I think would be important. So our residents would understand when we put out those notices of exactly what we're doing and why it's important, and help spread that word. But yes, sir.
When you're done.
Okay. And but thank you. I appreciate the work that we're doing to manage our lands, and I'm glad to have all of you on board. So thank you, Commissioner Sullivan.
Yeah, just to point out, in our county, we have a land management department, you people. What do in the cities, Palm Coast, Grinnell, and Flagler Beach, do they have any similar type of organizations?
I can speak to the city of Palm Coast a little bit. They have some counterparts similar. I don't know if they have it specifically as a division, but they have an environmental planner that we work with sometimes on collaborating on projects between the city and the county. And generally, that's the person right now. The person's name is Dylan. I forget the name. Jordan Myers before her, and even Miss Bevins was a colleague at a time in the past. So
Yeah, the reason I point that out, you guys, though, are the primary source. Doesn't matter where you are, if you're in the cities or out in the county areas, you're the people who were called on. And Grand Haven is part of Palm Coast, but you're the people we've gone to when it came to the feral hog problem.
Right. Well, we're always willing to collaborate as we're able, so.
Thank you.
And I forgot to get a picture with Mr. Martin when he's here, but would you guys want to take a picture with us? And thank you for the presentation.
Sounds good.
All
Thank
right.
you. One quick thing, I'll just say anytime any of you want to go out to see any specific projects or a general overview, glad to kind of show you what's going on out in the field with that stuff. So
Yeah, I was going to say, I was going to call you after the meeting. I want to do the same tour that Donnie took, so we'll set that up.
yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Sure. So we come up
Come
there
on
and
up.
stand in the
Yeah,
front.
stand. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys. All right, we'll continue through the agenda. At this time, we'll do community outreach. This is a 30-minute time period that's been allocated for public comment on any consent agenda item or topic not on the agenda. Each speaker will be allowed up to 3 minutes to address the commission. Speakers should approach the podium, identify themselves, and direct comments to the chair. So at this time, I'll open up community outreach to the public. If there's anybody that'd like to approach the board. Good morning.
Hi there. My name is Marnie King. I'm new to this area and I came to deliver a message. So, my name is Marnie King from Palm Coast. I recently learned that Flagler County has been budgeting $1,700 in annual dues to the Radical American Library Association and its divisions and subsidiaries, including the Public Library Association and the Florida Library Association. I'm here to urge you to join the growing number of counties around the state that have decided to end their membership in the ALA, including Citrus, Hernando, Collier, Lee, Sarasota, Pasco, Santa Rosa, Lake, St. Louis, Lucie, Manatee, Charlotte, and Hillsborough, excuse me. That is a nice growing number. The ALA has become notorious for its aggressive promotion of drag queen story hours and sexually explicit LGBTQ materials targeting children. The ALA's current president is a self-proclaimed Marxist lesbian, Emily Drabinski. And by the way, I have no problem with the gay community. It's the exploitation of children through these books. Drabinski has used her position to champion the queering of public libraries and other leftist causes. At the Socialism 2023 conference held in September in Chicago, she said libraries need to be a site of socialist organizing. But the ALA's radical agenda and its push to sexualize children go back years before Drabinski's presidency. Over a decade ago, the ALA started the Rainbow Project book list, a recommended reading list for children that pushes alternative sexual lifestyles and gender fluidity themes on children as young as 3 months old. The ALA has used its influence to promote books to minors that push not only gender ideology indoctrination, but outright pornographic materials. And yes, I have seen them, including explicit illustrations of sexual positions, including oral and anal sex, hand jobs, and whatever else they want to put in there. And this also includes incest and having sex with adults. I did send you all emails on this, and it includes links to do your own research. So please look at that. Is there something wrong with the sound?
No.
No.
Oh, okay, great, thank you. The ALA's so-called banned book list celebrates the pornographic books by pushing the narrative that offers to keep them away from children are a form of censorship that must be resisted. Those are actually crimes, 847 Florida statute. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Come on up.
Good morning, Chair,
Good
Commissioners.
morning.
We just want to take a few minutes of your time. I'm Bonita Robinson, Site Manager for the GW Carver Community Center. This is my staff member, Stacy Smith. We are here this morning to give you a personal invitation to the ribbon cutting ceremony, January 13th at 11:30 a.m. for our new extension over there. We just want to say that we really appreciate all the support that we get from your staff and yourselves financially as well as personal support. We would just love to have you stop by on January 13th at 11:30 and take part in our ribbon cutting ceremony. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Thank you.
Finally,
Appreciate
huh?
that. The electric, everything else is on, and
It is, and we look forward to serving our community. This space was much needed, for our students and our residents in Flagler County, and we thank you so much for your support.
very good. Look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Karen Stewart. I'm not much of a speaker, but children are definitely my thing. I love children. I have 8 of my own, and I'm a nurse. I went in pediatric nursing, and children are just everything to me. Now I have 21 grandchildren in 6th, 7th grade on the way. So children and me go together very well. And the stuff that's going on now against children is just breaking my heart. And the lady that just spoke is right. We can't have these type of books in our libraries, and I've seen lots of them. In fact, years back, there was something going on pornographic with the children, and I was in a homeschool group, but a large group. And so what we discovered was happening was one of the mothers went into this room, and she found it full of pornography. And it was the place that the man was driving the children someplace. So they were associated with this man. And so then this woman checked into this. And finally, this couple, the woman, a librarian, and then the man, the bus driver, as far as I know. But anyway, so a case was brought against them and they were found guilty. So that was good. But this stuff about children is going on all over the place. And I mean, all you have to know is a little bit about chromosomes. You're either an XY or you're an XX. So to try to pull all this stuff in and having people change their sexes is ridiculous. But it's going on and it's hurting our children. They've got to stop. So I don't know just how to do it, but something has to be done. I just can't believe it. Another thing, too, is all these sex changes. It affects the bodies so negatively. And you can't go back. When you decide you've made a mistake, you can't go back. And this is going on with children. Some of it is being hidden. So I don't know what to do, but maybe you guys would have some advice to me. What can we do to stop this?
Complete your comments. That's fine. It's just not a back and forth, but finish your comments.
Well, I think I just want to know what can be done because I sure would like to help do it. But to protect, and I have seen it. I've seen it go on when things get messed up. I had my brother's wife. She got really messed up in her younger years. She was having sex with 2 brothers. One she hated, the other one she loved. Well, this woman turned out to have 4 personalities. My brother tried to hide it, but she was 4 people. And if you didn't talk to the right one, she wouldn't talk to you. My brother explained that to me. My brother is now dead. But anyway, so it didn't take too long. This woman committed suicide. Anyway, okay. I think
Thank you
that's-
very much.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to approach the commission on public outreach? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move to consent and our board comments on consent items. Is there anything you wanted to highlight on consent? Commissioner Pennington?
No.
Commissioner Sullivan?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to mention 3 items, not to pull them, but to talk about them. Number 1, item 7Q, if you'll notice, the consent agenda. It's request for board to approve the 1109 Tourism Capital Funding Program, where we, out of the tourist projects, Palm Coast got the award, and now the money will actually be provided, $739,158. And that goes to the trailhead over on Beltier, where the tennis courts are, and the new pickleball courts. That whole operation there is a great find. It goes along with our new bridge, pedestrian bridge, and the connection of the trails and so on and so forth. So I just wanted to highlight that's a big deal, and I think it shows how we can really make it a better place to live here in the county. So that's 7Q. Item, let's see, 7R, which is a cash advance from the general fund to the Tourist Development Beach Restoration Fund. I think it's another example of how our tourism dollars can be used, sometimes not permanently, but to get funding accomplished and done in a timely fashion, and then followed up to refund the fund. And then the final one is the Commerce Parkway corridor approval to get on with that. That's a big deal for the county and a really significant project to improve, again, the overall economic and growth of the county, and a way to improve traffic flow, economic growth, better housing, things like that. So I think that item 7U, I don't know if anyone wants to talk any more about it, but it's a coordinated effort among Bunnell and the county and the state. And I just think it's a pretty significant upgrade here in the county. So just wanted to mention those 3.
Very good, thank you. Commissioner O'Brien, anything?
Nothing for comments.
Okay. And the only thing I'll add is on the Flagler Central Commerce Parkway is good news with bids coming in under expectations at this point. So let's hope that's a trend. And so with that, we'll go ahead and look for a motion on consent.
Well, there's something I did want to pull.
Okay.
We were just doing the comments.
Very
So
good. Go ahead. Is there something anybody wanted to pull for consent?
If you're looking at me, yes, sir. I'd like to pull 7C.
7C. All right, so 7C is the First Amendment to the lease of the historic courthouse, modifying the terms of the termination date, okay?
None.
Commissioner Sullivan, none? Commissioner
None.
Pennington, none? All right, so we'll go ahead and pull consent item 7C.
So, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 7C.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner O'Brien, second by Commissioner Pennington. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. So we'll move to item 7C, which is, again, just reread the title. It's First Amendment to lease of historic courthouse, modifying the termination date of the lease to August 31st, 2024.
So, Mike, if it's
Yes, sir.
okay, yeah. So my questions for staff. This was negotiated before I was on the commission, and I guess the bottom line here is if we do this, if we adopt this, then we're terminating the lease or allowing termination of the lease 7 months early. So I didn't know what the financial impact of that was, unless they're talking about paying the lease through the full term. So I wanted to know what that was. And that will help me understand the significance of that, because it's not noted in the backup.
They were not, they were looking to terminate the lease 7 months early, so they were not looking to make whole the lease. In other words, they weren't going to pay the 7 months that they were not occupying. So I'd have to look at the current cost of what they're paying and just multiply it by 7. When you look at the lease, there isn't a penalty for early cancellation. So it's really up to the board if they choose to allow them out of the lease without serving a penalty, because the contract doesn't call for one. But they were not looking to pay for the months that they were not occupying.
Yeah, so, I mean, on commercial leases that I'm familiar with, if you terminate early, you still owe the full balance of the lease. And so I'm trying to understand what our lease contract is here, so I understand if there's a financial ramification for us terminating this lease 7 months early. That's number one. Number two, I sense challenges on this property, obviously, going forward, and I'm just wondering if administration has any thoughts about where this is going with this property.
We were looking at considering different options. I know that last year, I believe it was, we had taken a tour over to Polk County. There had been some interest within the city of Bunnell and the Historical Society to do something similar with the property. Again, it would need to go back in front of the board for their consideration. We've talked about creating potentially a space maybe at staff level. Internally, there was some interest for a veterans group that was looking to occupy space. So it really isn't anything defined or definitive. What we were looking at for staff is to have outside engineer come in, do an evaluation on the building, see what modifications or changes would need to take place. It's been quite a while since we've been in the building, other than to address maybe some maintenance issues or HVAC. It's currently configured as a school. They did put in a kitchen, but largely since they've made renovations to the site, we haven't really, gotten in there and looked behind the walls, so to speak. So
The renovations and the things they've done, have they gone through us from a permitting standpoint?
they did. They had a contractor and outside engineering draw up the plans. It did go through us under a different building official. I believe at the time it might have been Mark Boyce, who was our building official when those changes took place. But it was all permitted work.
Commissioner Sullivan?
Well, yeah, I just think this lease originally with the school was very advantageous to the school. It was a very good deal that we provided them, and now just the relatively low amount of money they've been providing us, we're not even going to get the last 7 months. So I'm concerned about that building in general, also where it goes from here, and there's nothing much more we can do about it, but it was very advantageous to the school.
Chair.
Commissioner Panigan?
Yeah, so one of the things I think, and I'm all for if you would like to table and do a financial on this real quickly. One of the questions that we'll need to ask is if we terminate early, we currently pay the insurance on this. It's around $65,000 a year on this building. And I don't know if this building will now fall into that plan of one of the buildings we would not typically insure because of value. If that's somewhere we would have cost savings. But the bigger question is, right, what's the use going forward? And I think, Ms. Petito, we'd already approved funds for the engineer several months back, so that we just haven't had the opportunity to send the engineer in yet. And then we don't necessarily, what is the plan? Because we don't want to, it does cost significant to mothball the building, if the lights aren't getting turned on or anything like that. So there'll have to be some sort of discussion whether or not we want to continue on with the building, gift the building. Will tell you that, there's not a desire, there's a strong desire to make sure it doesn't get torn down But whether or not it continues to be owned or managed by us is a different discussion. So,
Mr. Chair, just one last thing. It's not that I don't like First Baptist or have any issues with them as an organization. I just think of it more from an equity standpoint and equitable treatment. And I think a contract is a contract, and it needs to run its course, or we need to get paid. And so I would make a motion to table this until we have the financial data that we don't have here today to make a better decision.
All right, I have a motion to table by Commissioner O'Brien, seconded by Commissioner Sullivan. I don't have any
comments.
If I
Is there
could,
anybody from the public that would like to speak to this?
if I could, the lease was attached as backup. It looks like it's 7,000 a month plus sales tax. If you do the math, it should be just under $53,000 is what you'd be out.
It wasn't attached in the backup I was looking at.
I apologize then because it's showing on my end.
I mean,
as a
I'm online on our
25
website
page.
right now looking at our package, and I didn't see it. But I thank you for telling me that. But so
And so we've got I'll open back up for public comment if anybody from the public wanted to speak to this. And not seeing anybody, we'll bring it back to the dais. Any other comments on this before we vote? All right, so we've got a motion to table. Commissioner O'Brien, a second by Commissioner Sullivan. All those in favor signify with aye.
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 So just table it for additional comment and backup information for the commission presented by the administrator. All right, since general business was pulled by the applicant, we'll skip to general business and go to additional reports and comments, and to the county administrator for any reports or comments. Ms. Petito?
Sorry, just pulling them up. We have been asked to provide the names of the two commissioners that'll represent the county for the upcoming joint city-county workshop, be held on January 24th at 5:30 at the GSB.
So I know we've had myself, Commissioner Sullivan, Commissioner Pennington, and so I'm open to Commissioner O'Brien if you wanted to step in for one of these meetings.
Sure.
We'll go ahead and let you. I think the commission, it would be held here again.
Yes,
so
it will.
You would be the chair more than likely of the meeting.
Okay.
Okay. And I know Commissioner Sullivan's district is Flagler Beach. You've always been present. I don't know if you want to be at the dais or not, or just in attendance.
Well, probably, what would you like to do, Mr. Chairman, on this? I'm just, yes, be there, the alternate. Yeah, have Donnie be the.
Sure, if you want to be the alternate in case something happens, then that would be fine.
Right.
I think everybody else can be in attendance.
Okay.
That's the 24th.
January 24th at 5:30.
Okay.
And then the other thing I had, just to let you know, we have completed the dental lab expansion at the Flagler County Health Department. They're tentatively scheduled to open it up to the public at the end of the month, at the end of January. We also met with the Flagler County School Board to discuss and resolve any proposed changes to the Carver ILA prior to bringing it back to you. That updated new draft will be presented to the school board at tomorrow's meeting. And then lastly, our consultant and staff have completed their work on the beach survey, and that survey should be disseminated over the next couple weeks, or at least by the end of the month. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. And second report will be from the county attorney, Mr. Hadid.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. I wanted to let you know that for the workshop today, later today on Bulow Campground, Sean, our deputy, has been riding point, so he'll be sitting in the chair. I'll be here additionally, but I just want to know he'd be sitting in the chair. The other item is concerns one of our legislative priorities. That's preserving the home rule for the short-term vacation rental regulation. We have a Senate bill that's been filed. There's been no House bill filed. There's a possibility that there will be no House bill. potentially it could pass in the Senate and then be sent to the House for adoption. So I just wanted you to understand that procedural aspect of it. The important part of the bill that affects Flagler is that it eliminates occupancy limits in single-family neighborhoods. They cannot be enforced any longer if the Senate bill becomes law. Now, the bill does a lot of other things that compromise against home rule. But if you had to pick out one thing to try to save going forward in terms of local authority, I believe it would be occupancy. The attempt to deprive local governments of the ability to set occupancy limits in single-family residential neighborhoods has been a feature of the industry bills filed every year since 2017 to now, except for this session, obviously. They have been defeated primarily because of the local communities being very concerned, aside from their home rule power, but being very concerned about eliminating occupancy limit. Why? Occupancy limits avoid the risk of having party houses, that is, places that are rent out solely, to have a loud or boisterous party. And it's been a good tool in that regard. It also has the effect, when you control the occupancy, it reduces excessive street parking, on-street parking, which can be in some of our neighborhoods, the smaller streets, smaller with streets, that can be a problem. And the other is it obviously reduces the potential for noise because the large gatherings are limited. So the bill does take away that ability, among other abilities, but that being, to me, the most significant loss. In your trip next week, you're going to be going to Tallahassee. I don't know if all of you are, but the one thing that I would suggest that you mention to our legislators, to FAC, to the lobbyists, that they should attempt to preserve the local government's ability to restrict occupancy in single-family neighborhoods. That's the only area where it proves to be problematic. Typically, in the other settings of short-term rental vacations, such as condominiums, they already have their limitations, on the number of people that can occupy a unit on a short-term basis. Single-family neighborhoods do not have that protection because they, unless they have organized a very specific HOA and have promulgated a very specific rule, they do not have that protection. Most of our neighborhoods actually don't have HOAs in the unincorporated area. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll bring that back to community outreach. Again, this is a 30-minute time period for public comment. Anybody wish to come for public comment? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and bring it back for commission reports. Commissioner Pennington, was there anything you wanted to add?
Yes, I had spoken last week with Mr. Hadid that I'm not able to commit to being the third on the canvassing board. We looked at my schedule. I would miss the basic orientation courses. I just got a heavy work and school and private workload, and I'm concerned that if I ended up having to be the third alternate, I just couldn't fulfill it at all. And so I thought I'd bring it up here. If you wanted to continue to add a third alternate, we could go back to the offer by Ms. Albanese possibly, if you need the third alternate even.
I don't know that we've ever had really a third alternate, but I think Commissioner Sullivan, any comments on that?
Well, I think as long as we have an alternate,
Right.
to me, that if we, something arose where we had a more difficult problem, we could take care of that at that point in time.
Yeah, and I'm committed to be able to do that all the way through and
Okay.
do all the trainings and everything.
Okay,
So, yeah.
very good. I think we're covered, but thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sullivan, comments?
Yeah, just a number of us attended the Northeast Florida Regional Council Awards presentations last Thursday. Our pedestrian bicycle bridge got one of the awards, and also our Emergency Operations Center, along with the police and firemen, everybody else who was involved, had a large exercise at the new hospital that was done. So both of them got awards. I think we had a nice presentation there, and I think it's continued great recognition to the county for things that are good about what we're doing here. And I just thought I'd just mention that one of our members, Commissioner Hanson, is not with us today, and it's not. He just had an accident of some type, not to be further detailed, and we hope he gets better real quick. That's it.
Yes.
Thank you. I was going to mention that at the end if nobody
Well, I
brought it
just-
up, but that's
I-
good.
okay.
That's all good. Yes, he's been excused, and we hope he heals up quickly.
Right.
Commissioner O'Brien.
Nothing, sir.
Okay, I just wanted to again acknowledge the 2 awards that we got for the fire service training at Northeast Florida Regional Council and for the newly titled Flagler Greenway pedestrian bridge. And also wanted to offer the commission's condolences to MJ Sharp, was an employee with the library that passed away this past week. And just wanted to share that with their family and friends. And that's all I have today. So with that, we'll go ahead and take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Sullivan. Second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner O'Brien. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And we'll see everybody at the workshop, 1 p.m.
Maybe. I'm still alive.